In Blessings family, we're going to speak about the Odu oyekun otura, oyekun desia, also known as oyekun desia. In this great Odu is where we're taught the importance of feeding our ori, which increases intelligence and prosperity. This is a great story by which Babalao had a connection, deep connection with Osain, a deep connection with the Olokun of Ifa in African traditions, which includes more deities, Olona Olaosa, Efe, many deities, but these deities, along with him feeding his ori, helped increase his intelligence and prosperity, where he was able to acquire more memory and more knowledge of the traditions. Also, this is the Odu that teaches us the significance and importance of greeting Odomila every morning as we place our head on the floor, on the ground, to give respect to Odomila, because Odomila in his Odu will greet Olodumare, the Creator, every morning. And then he earned this virtue where Babalaos and people of the faith will prostrate themselves and touch their head on the ground to give respect to Odomila, and with the Babalao will basically pray to Odomila, where he protects us in a dream world. He protects us against people that had ill intentions against us. Basically, it's a very delicate prayers that we do. Also, this Odu, interesting enough, it talks about the his name is Albini, where it was basically an individual who wanted to Adoni, an individual who wanted to interfere in Odomila's process of initiating somebody else in the faith. Adoni discovered that Ologun's son wanted to become a Babalao, and then basically he tried to convince him, meaning the father, to not go to Odomila, to go to him, that he's a better candidate. So in other words, interfering with somebody's destiny and faith, where they were meant to grow in that actual place. So the person never arrived to get initiated, and Odomila Divine and Eshu was also asking for his particular offering. And Odomila said, I cannot grant you the offerings because Adoni has interfered with the entire process. So when Elegwa Eshu discovered this, basically there was a negative karmic engine that was activated by which Adoni became an alcoholic. He kept drinking and drinking excessively to the point where he was in public it was very humiliating. So Eshu said, is this the person that you replaced Odomila with to initiate your son? Do you think he has the conditions to be able to guide your son correctly? Apparently the father said no. So then he went back to Odomila. So this teaches two lessons: to respect everyone's God's children, to also when someone is meant to grow in this particular faith or path, and someone just because of their money hungry, or you just want to just usurp somebody, a member from the temple, it doesn't look good in the eyes of Eshu. It doesn't look good in the eyes of Olodumare, because it can misguide a person completely. Also, in this faith, or in this Odu oyekun otura, he speaks about this majestic turtle that wanted to know everything on the planet Earth. He basically will rob different brain matter from different people, and he had a bag that was right in front of him. So he decided to climb up the tree to hide with all this wealth of wisdom, but he had a difficulty climbing up. And another animal said, the reason you're having difficulty is because if you put this on your back, it'll be easier to climb up. The turtle was very arrogant and couldn't face the fact that someone else knew more than him. So he went to Odomila to see what the problem was. Odomila said, no, you just gotta stop doing that as far as getting different brain matter and give it back to the original people. Be careful you don't make the mistake of giving it to the wrong person. So the turtle unfortunately gave brain matter to the wrong people. It didn't correspond to them, and the path was in alignment. This is symbolic. This means that a Babalao or somebody has to always guide the person at the correct paths. Second, this represents where Elegwa and Eshu and Elegwa, if somebody receives, or a Babalao that gives an Eshu as Elegwa, has to be very careful and very conscientious of the fact that every human being is not the same. We, as Babalaos, know the secret shards, but there's other elements as well that coincides with the person's art or work field, and where you could walk with that person, not any random thing. And also could talk about other people that could be charlatans who are claiming to give Elegba, and they give weird stuff inside that doesn't have the shards and is misguiding people completely. Also, there's a story here in this old where it's called um, the king's daughter. Basically, this is where a wealthy king got divination, or from Oromila. Oromila says you have everything in the physical realm, as far as wealth, but there's a big void in your heart, and a deep spiritual void in your heart, and you require more spirituality. The king laughed and did not obey. Then time passed where his daughter's taboo was to not exchange clothes or not wear other people's clothing. She did, and unfortunately, in another village, they were hunting someone who had that same clothing, and they mistaken her as the one to be hunted. When that happened, of course, it hit home and affected the heart, and he had a heavy heart and a void in his life, and that's when he realized that the prediction Ifa gave was accurate. What this represents is that when something is said in the reading and it doesn't pertain to you now or in the past, doesn't mean it's not accurate. It means it talks about a future situation or circumstance, right? Also, it talks about the balance, of spirituality. We need spirituality in our life because that's also represents wealth as well. There's another story in this old oyekun otura, which is called the Cape and the demon that lives at the Black Lagoon, or the depths of the lagoon. There was a king in this story that was stating that he will give diamonds or wealth to whoever could grab this cape from this demon that lived in the in-depth parts of the lagoon. What people realize is that in the deep parts of the lagoon there was a lot of diamonds, but in order to obtain it, you had to remove the cape from the demon. So people very overly ambitious wanted to get that quick wealth, risk their lives, and did not make it. Oromila sought divination and did it bold and accurately was able to do it because Ifa was given an offering and different other deities. And so the moral of the story is that if a person does not have clearance to do certain things, especially in Lukumi faith, they have to be very careful because they're playing with fires. Because imagine people were trying to convince this demon to give him the cape, and the demon just defeated them. But Oromila was able to, nullify or defeat the demon because he had the proper initiation, the proper clearance to navigate in that deep levels of spirituality. Also, in this old oyekun otura, it talks about a person that can be falsely accused of stealing something when they did not steal anything. Also, it talks about the auric field where it mentions the chakras. This is where Olumado Lofin wanted to see who has a good heart or who does not, and he was able to determine this by reading the person's auric field, or the aura that's in their body, right? In this great Odu, it represents the altars, the shrines, represents spirituality, represents the power of the hands, the fingerprints, and things of that nature. Oyekun otura, as I mentioned before, teaches us the importance of greeting Oromila, because when we do every morning, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting the godchildren, we're protecting our family, and also it extends us with long life on earth and prosperity. Alright, so let me see if I mentioned the vast majority of the information already noted here, just to share. Yeah, okay, so this story talks about, it's called the the offerings of the mouth. So basically, the story speaks of different people that are very wealthy. They would eat well, but they would never share to the poor people. People that were in a lower economic status did not have food to eat. All they had was salt. You can imagine that. So all they would do is they talk bad about the rich people, and that eventually affect their karmic engine, where they were going through some stuff. So the wealthy people sought counsel from Ifa. Ifa recommended that the ebo or require certain foods that they would distribute and give to the people that are lacking. Once it did, they began to speak good about them, and the village was restored back to order. So this oyekun otura talks about the importance of respecting the Babalao, a Babalarisha, a Yalarisha, Palero, Spiritista, whatever rank or hierarchy you're in, and visit the home. It's just a nice gesture to invite them to eat, or at least a glass of water. That's just an education, and then it's very important as religious people. But yeah, other than that, that's a general summary of the old oyekun otura, and then I will continue in a few days with other odus. Ashe Buru, Ashe Washe, To Ibanish.